Again, Erev Shabbos, everybody. Welcome once again to Jerry's Corona Contemplations, as we still find ourselves in the midst of the Corona debacle. This week we will be speaking briefly about Parshiot, Tazria and Metzora, always one of your more difficult Parshiot to talk about, because Tsaras just really isn't something that we're all that used to nowadays. Although I think in the age of Corona, perhaps it may get a little bit more, well, how shall we say, timely. So, as we know, Tazria Metzora is again dealing with the whole concept of cleanliness and the tsaras, the leprosy, as it were, whatever, wasn't exactly leprosy, it was this biblical disease, and it would hit the person, it would hit their garments, it would hit their house, and it all had to do with, Chazal tell us, a person's speech, how a person would talk, whether they spoke lashon hara, gossip, or whether they were speaking inappropriately or speaking hurtfully to other people. And because of this disease, this tsaras, would hit the person. And the person would have to go, of course, to the Kohen, who we see in the graphic. And the Kohen would examine the person and say, yeah, you seem to have some tsaras over there on your arm or somewhere. And the person would be sent out of the camp. If it happened to his garments, as you see, they would have to be burnt. If it happened to their house, then the house, we see, Zahirut Saras Babayas. He's got mushrooms growing on his, or here's another graphic. You see the, we can see there's a nega on the house, and the house would have to be, well, first what happened is if they found a couple of bricks, a piece of sheetrock that had this mold, this virus on it, then they would take it out and throw it in a valley or wherever it was and then replace it. And possibly it would come back. And if it came back and it spread, so then the house had to be destroyed. This is the whole thing. But there's an interesting Maimer Chazal that tell us that the Canaanim, the people that the Bnei Israel came in and conquered the land, the 7 nations, they used to hide their wealth in the walls of their homes. And when the person would have to destroy the house, there would be, many times, they would find a great treasure there. It seems it's just a very, very strange, concept, the whole idea of this tsaras. But we know from Chazal that it happened because of inappropriate speech. So let's look at it. A person, if they had tsaras, they had to be sent outside the camp. They couldn't be amongst other people. We have just been sent, everybody has been sent out. Talking in shul, inappropriate speech. Very often it's lashon hara that's being spoken, chas v'shalom, right? The shuls are closed. Hashem sent us all to our rooms. We are all sent outside the camp to think. Are we using the power of speech properly? Are we using the right words? Are we using clean words? Are we Ani Barosham? Anyone who knows me knows that I'm not good at this at all. Right? We all have our we all have our shortcomings. Some of us are shorter than others. If I was a little shorter, I wouldn't be covering the graphic there. But we all have our shortcomings, but we were sent michutz lamachane with this nega, the nagif, they call it in Israel here. They call it the nagif. It's a nega, it's a virus. This is what we're all being plagued with. And on our economy, our wealth, whether it's our clothing, if the person had the tsaras on the clothing had to be burnt. If a person had it in their house had to be destroyed. People lost their wealth over it. Yet there were cases, as Chazal tell us, like I said before, where there was a great wealth to be found at the end of this situation. As we said in Parshat Ki Tisa, right? Hashem puts you in the rock, it covers us, and then at the end, afterwards, we see that Hashem was doing whatever was done for our benefit. So, while we're all suffering from this type of tsaras, this corona, whether you person has it chas v'shalom or they've lost people to it chas v'shalom, lo aleinu, but nonetheless, we've all been exiled to some degree from our communities. We have to think, are we using our power of speech correctly? What separates a human being from an animal is the power of speech. That is part of the Tzelem Elokim, and that has to be used correctly. Ruchi, my wife, those of you who don't know that Ruchi is my wife, she always says to her students and our kids, you put kosher in your mouth, but is what's coming out of your mouth kosher? Kosher in, kosher out. If you're not using the power of speech properly, then we're subject to these negaim, these nagifs, all these terrible things come upon us when we don't act in accordance with what HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects from us. So, foul language, gossip, talking in shul, the shuls become closed. Our possessions are attacked. The economy suffers. But at the end of the day, we will see that while this is a difficult period and a challenging period and a sad period for many people, Hashem has a plan, and we'll all come out better on the other side, just as if we knock down that wall and find that treasure. So, once again, Shabbos Makar HaBracha. We don't roll the Shabbos again. The bowling alleys are closed. The clubs are closed. Take on one more thing. Whatever you did last week, add another thing to your Shabbos to make it beautiful. Another Dvar Torah, another Zemira. If you're not 100% Shomer Shabbos, if you're 80%, get to 81. If you're 50%, get to 51. If you're no percent, get to 10, something. Do the best you can, but use this time that we are quarantined to be with our families on Shabbos and spend extra time thinking and spending time with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbos Makar HaBracha. Shabbos is the source of all blessing. Thanks for joining us for this short little Dvar Torah on Tazria Metzora. Hope to see you back here next week. Everyone, stay safe. Have a wonderful and meaningful Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom.